What is up, people? Welcome back. Today, I'll be reacting to another episode of Abba and Preach, and this is marriage in Korea.
Today's topic, someone sent me this from a YouTuber who's all the way out in Korea, Megan Moon.
So as we know, Korea is very different from my home country of the USA, America. And through marriage, I've also learned a little bit more about some differences that we have in the way that we view relationships and the way that we go about them, etc. So I thought I would talk today about some things that I learned.
She said, etc.
From being married here in Korea. The very first thing that I learned was that marriage is duty. And it's quite different from like kind of what we see like in the Hollywood and in media and stuff.
What?
Yeah. That's actually why most of marriages fail. You think it gets better after you get married. You're just gonna cruise there and everything gonna be fine. I'm married now.
Why he did that? Preach's faces.
And you realize you got some work to do.
The word duty is an interesting one. How do you define duty?
It's work that you got.
An obligation, a requirement to enrich someone else's life or your own through tasks, whether that task is spending quality time with someone, listening to them when they are venting. That is what I define as a duty, a requirement to yourself or to somebody else to enrich their lives.
Gotta do.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's the work that you gotta do in order to maintain something. It's a duty.
In order
and
to
you get into
maintain.
this thing with someone else, you have a duty, the other person has a duty, you sign them up, you have a duty to make it work.
A moral or legal obligation, a responsibility. Now, people hear obligation when it comes to things like marriages, and they're like, there should be no obligations in relationships.
You sign the papers for
Who
what?
says that? Who says there should be no obligations in relationships? That is such a silly thing to claim.
You made the vows.
You made the vows. You signed the paper. There was a priest involved, a pastor. There was witnesses. You got two witnesses. You got on both sides. You come on now.
I'm not mad at you.
No. Hey. You think? And after that, you got all this shit going on. You have the same elements. You have the same motherfuckers elements as when you go to court. You got someone that prosecutes. You got witnesses. You got the signed motherfucking paper, and you got your sentence for life. And then you think there's not gonna be work, bitch.
I know Preach isn't a fan of religion, but he was a preacher in a past life.
By the way,
I swear
bitch,
he was.
Appreciate.
when I say bitch, I'm not talking to you, Megan. I don't know you. But
No, Megan, do your thing, girl.
Do your thing. It's not you. I'm just talking in general.
Yeah, let her preach.
She's
Let her preach.
yeah. Go on, Megan.
And I feel like kind of our view of marriage, like in America, is a bit more romanticized. It's like this romantical kind of Disney kind of
Hollywood shit.
fairy tale type thing that we like view with marriage. I feel like sometimes we lose a lot of the duty, and a lot of people in marriages think about, the things that they want to get. Like, I want to get married so I can get this and I can get that and I can have love and happiness and stuff like that. But I notice in a lot of Asian countries, like, they view marriage as duty. Of course, people love each other like when they get married, but there's more of an aspect on the things that you need to contribute and things that you need to do in the relationship to keep it afloat. And I noticed,
I think not just in Asian countries, but in a lot of indigenous societies, like ancient societies. I mean, I don't want to conflate the two because, well, indigenous people are often in tune with, traditions from ancient cultures. So I don't necessarily think I'm conflating the two. But my point is, they also have that view that marriage or these lifelong bonds with someone are not something to be solely romanticized or Hollywoodified. Going back to what Preach and Megan are saying, in those societies, in those communities, marriage represents a moral, social, and familial obligation to maintain the household. It's not so much, I want to get married so I can live happily for the rest of my life. It's like, no, we need to get married so we can be sources of support for one another. And so we can reproduce our bloodline. And so that our kids, once they are born, so our kids can do work around the house, do work on the farm, so that they can turn into hunters and gatherers, so that when we get old, they can take care of us. See, marriage back in the day, and still in many parts of the world, revolve more around those philosophies and those ways of life.
When people think of marriage here, they think less about, okay, what am I going to be getting? Like, give to me, and there's less of this sort of entitled feeling for what you think you should be getting in marriage.
Everybody thinks that marriage is like 50-50. You hear that often. It's not 50-50. It's 100-100. You give 100% of you, I give 100% of me.
I know Preach is married, and I might not have grounds to speak on like this, but from what I've been told, marriage isn't 50-50 or 100-100. It's 60-40, because there are going to be times where you fall short in the marriage and the other person is going to need to assist you to keep the relationship going. And there are going to be times where they fall short throughout the course of their development, and you will need to exert that 60% while they're exerting 40. So it's a back and forth. You know what I'm saying? Compromises, sacrifices, self-giving and selflessness. At least these are the elements I've observed in successful marriages that do last for 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years.
It's not 50-50. It's not. That's a lie. That's a whole lot of lie. And whenever sometimes I'm going to be at 90%, you're going to give 110. Or even sometimes 120. Motherfuckers.
Oh no, I think that's a little unrealistic, because can't nobody give 100%. Like, people just aren't built that way.
It's 50-50. It's not.
And people tend to focus on how they can make it work and the things that they need to do within that marriage. And one thing that I noticed is, instead of people getting their happiness from what they're getting, like, I'm happy when my partner's just doing this for me, or when I'm getting this love, or when I'm getting the things I feel like I'm entitled to get, is people feel more happiness in knowing that they fulfilled their duty in marriage.
We moved to the condo, right? You should have seen my chest. You should have seen.
Well, no. You need to take this 10 steps back to give the context of why that move was a big deal. I know why. They won't understand. So you need to explain a little bit about the financial situation prior and what it meant for you to contribute, so that they can get the full picture of why your chest was like this. Because I remember, nigga, you came in one day and your head was like this. I was like, what happened? I was like, you turned into a Final Fantasy character. Like, so I need to, so give him everything, please.
I'm going to tell you this, all right? For the first few...
I feel like he's going to tell a story where at the beginning of the relationship, his girl had his back and she was kind of carrying him. And then he's proud because he's gotten to a point in his life and his career where he can return the favor. But see, that goes back to what I could be completely off here. That goes back to what I was speaking about before in terms of relationships at times being, 60-40, because both parties need to,
For the first few years of our lives, I was making more money than her because she was in school.
Oh.
I decided to say, fuck this college shit. I'm out. I'm going to go in the world and work. She went to school, did her thing. She applied in a job. And
Did one of my pictures fall?
Good.
I'll get that later.
First few years, I was making more bucks and more bank than her. I was switching jobs and stuff like that. And then she gets promotions. At some point, motherfuckers was asking me, so what does your girl do? And I was like, nigga, I don't know. You know why? Because I don't need to know, because she's about to get a promotion in fucking 3 weeks. So fuck knowing what she does. She always fucking switches on me. Fuck that shit. And at some point, for the good part of our life, she was making 2 to 3 times my bread. So
That back and forth.
since I'm not the breadwinner, man, I gotta cope with other shit. I gotta fix shit. I gotta, sometimes I gotta do some shit. Long hours, so whenever she would come back home, I'd have to make the dinner, like you get the, to hold my own. I had to bring my 100%.
Right.
Because she was bringing her 100%.
Right.
You know what I mean?
All right, I get what Preacher's saying. I don't think we disagree. I think we just saying the same thing in different ways.
And then this shit happens. We doing good. We doing great. She able to buy the condo, but then I'm able to gain back to be like, nah, put it on the card. Nah, I got this. You saw how I said? You saw how I said that?
If you see Preacher's bottom teeth in a smile, that's some real shit.
Oh no, put it on the card. I got this.
All right, that's kind of creepy.
For you to be able to provide the space that you guys were going to live in.
Yeah.
It felt like you were able to fulfill your duty.
Yeah, like, duty, that's the thing. And I was, but it's just, I got this goal I gotta, and I still feel like I owe her, That's pretty much it, because all those years she had my back, I gotta get back on it.
That's my turn. Let me
handle it. We there, and it's really...
And that's the fulfilling part for you?
Yeah, well, I mean, just to be able to, hey, okay, whenever you're in debt to somebody, and that's not really what it is, but imagine that you're in debt. Imagine you're in debt to somebody, and you're finally able to pay it.
Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah.
I'm talking about respectfully, not throwing it in someone's face. I'm talking about like, yeah, here you go, and then you add interest, and you're like, yeah, we good, and then cool, I got you. Getting someone's back. After they had yours, you pay some shit to your parents.
That's what he's really getting at, because what I also want to caution y'all against is this notion of like giving 100%, because what it can turn into, which is where a lot of relationships like kind of fail, is this one-upsmanship. Like, my partner did something for me, they gave something to me, so now I got to give it back tenfold. It gets to a point where it's like, whoa, are you in a competition with your partner, or are you just like having their back, And
stuff like that. I'm like, yo,
it doesn't need to be a one-upsmanship, because that could raise the stakes so high and place pressure on both parties to like top what they did. So it shouldn't be a competition.
And I was talking to my mom, I was like, yo, you motherfuckers are going to go to Miami this year? It's like, oh, we don't know, because we can only fly. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to fly you there. I'll fly you. Both of you. I'll fly you there. First class. Yeah, but what about the car? We can't rent a car. I'll send it there. Send me the bill.
That's a beautiful thing.
It's a duty. So whether it is with your wife, whether it is with your parents, whether it was with my sister, I got my sister's back. You know what I mean? So that's what it is.
And I think that's something that's actually really nice, because you can't really control what other people do, right? You can't control like if someone's gonna do something for you that day, but you can control the things that you're doing. And I think when your happiness comes from a sense of fulfillment for doing the things that you're supposed to do to keep the marriage running, then I feel like that leads to much longer happiness, as opposed to just, what can I get, what can I get, what can I get?
Can I just take a second to appreciate how wise that was? She said, if your sense of fulfillment and joy comes from what they do for you, then it's kind of out of your control. Whereas when you get joy and pleasure from being able to give others, then it's always something you can choose to do each day. So there's something that's very nice about it.
Oh no, Megan is on point.
Yes.
She's spitting game right now.
We wasn't talking shit about your wife, Mr. Moon. We showing her some love.
Mr. Who?
Megan's spitting some sense right now.
Yeah.
So let's compare like marriage to like a business or something, right? So for a business to run well, the employee should always be doing their job. If the boss said, you know what, you can just work when you feel like it, and everyone only worked when they felt like it instead of what you have to do every day, then the business might not go so well. And so I feel like with marriage it's similar. Like, you don't always feel like doing things that you're supposed to do all the time, but that's just kind of part of it. And this is just a very light example. It's the only thing that just kind of popped into my head right now. But this is not something that Moon said, I need you to get me my coffee every day. But it's just kind of something that I like to do in the morning, is to make Mr. Moon coffee. Sometimes
Why is she calling him Mr. Moon? All right. And another thing, I think the points that she's making are great so far. Another thing I would add is that most relationships do not start on this foot. So don't get the wrong impression that if you get into a relationship with someone and you have problems giving, or they have problems giving, the relationship is destined to fail. That might be the case, but oftentimes relationships start off on, or they could start off on rocky grounds where both people are getting to know one another and learning more about themselves and what they like, what they don't like. And as time goes by, folks kind of fall into that role as, okay, it is my duty to serve this person in these capacities. And then the other person says, all right, it's my duty to serve this person in these capacities. So I'd be curious to hear about how her relationship started off.
I don't feel like getting his cafe latte in the morning, but I know it makes him happy. And
because I do think that's a process. Like, I'm not in a relationship right now, but I would imagine there could and would be some growing pains if I did get into one, even if it was with the most lovely woman in the world, because I haven't been in a relationship for quite some time. So there are certain cues, there are certain aspects of empathy that I have to grow into. There are just certain understandings that I don't necessarily have. There are vulnerabilities and insecurities and fears that I kind of have to grow out of. So don't think that as soon as you jump into a relationship, you have to be the perfect partner. You just have to be willing to put in the work.
Keeps our marriage going. And when he sees that I'm getting up to get him his cafe latte, even if I want to be sleeping in, it makes him happy too. It makes him want to keep doing things, for me. So we just keep giving to each other and each other and each other, and we continue to thrive in that way.
I did that to my girl. Bought her a coffee machine. She likes espresso in the morning. No, she likes a coffee latte. And for the first 3 months, I was getting up. I didn't have to get up. She wakes up at 6 in the morning. I wake up to get her coffee. But, whenever she's in the kitchen, she's like, yo, I'm playing PlayStation. She's like, hey, you want a sandwich? Hell yeah, I want a sandwich. I'm not, yo, go in the kitchen and make me a sandwich. No, I don't have to ask.
If you have to ask.
I don't have to ask. You know why? Because I gave her coffee because she don't have to ask. The motherfuckers that have to ask their wife to make them a sandwich, y'all losing to me.
Yeah.
That's an L to me. I don't even have to ask because she don't even have to ask for the coffee.
When I eat, you eat. When I drink, you drink.
Not even saying I'm perfect.
I think, man,
but it's a dynamic.
Guys, let me know in the comments below. But this is not the video in which preach the most. It just may be. My nigga's going in. I mean, Mrs. Moon is going in as well.
Yo.
But Preach is also going in as well.
Preach Moon.
You know what I'm saying? Everybody's like, and then I go in. You know what I'm saying? I appreciate that.
No, but that's the thing. That's the people. Yo, if you have to tell your wife, and there was a whole thing with the meme world. You know how I am with me. There's a whole thing about, yo, go in the kitchen and make me a sandwich. Yeah, okay, I understood the joke and everything and stuff. But if you have to ask,
let me just.
Either you fucking up or they fucking up or y'all both fucking up.
Just saying. One thing that I think she said that was very mature. She says, some days I don't want to do it, but I still do it. That's the truth about relationships.
Yo.
Sometimes you don't really feel like it, but it's still your duty to do it. And the other person's also supposed to reciprocate in that way as well. This whole idea of only when you want to and enthusiastic. No.
But I will also add a caveat. You want to do it for somebody you believe is worth it, because if the reason why you don't want to do something for someone in a relationship has to do with, at your core, you really don't think they're the right one, and therefore you I ain't trying to make them a sandwich. That's why you got to find somebody who you think is worth it, because it makes it just a little easier to get up early in the morning and run an errand or do a task. There's still going to be times where you don't want to do it, but if you're with somebody you believe this is my ride or die, it makes it just a little bit easier.
Sometimes you don't want to get up to go to the gym.
Shut the fuck up and go.
You still have the duty to go. You still have that responsibility.
That's it.
You gotta manage yourself.
Yo, bust a blank one time for me for Miss Moon. Boom, boom. Yo, bust a blank. Boom.
How many times do you think that man wants to go to the hospital? 0. But he has a duty when he's in a marriage to go to the hospital. Why? Because he has to manage his health to be around. We all have to do shit we don't want to do.
And another thing that I noticed is those feelings of love tend to stay and continue to happen when both people are fulfilling their role and doing their duties in the marriage. Things work out that you put effort into. I don't know if that makes sense, but I hope it did. take from it what you want. So the next thing that I've kind of learned to do here is I've really learned to embrace the differences between men and women. I feel like sometimes in the West we like to ignore that there are differences between men and women, but I feel like here in Korea people understand that there are differences, and it doesn't mean that one is better than the other, but they don't demonize any characteristics that are inherently masculine or feminine.
My girl to this
I would
day.
say historically, as opposed to inherently masculine or feminine, because characteristics. But I'm just splitting hairs. Well, no, I think it's an important distinction to make. With that being said, I agree with
masculine or feminine.
I agree with the gist that she's saying. In some capacity, gender roles do provide structure, clarity, and understanding in a relationship.
My girl to this day, we had the conversation the other day, me and my girl. I said to my girl, it's not to diss anybody. It's really not. It's really not. It's really not. I asked my girl, are you a feminist? My girl said no. And I'm like, why? Don't you want to be equal?
She probably has something. It probably has something to do with social stigma surrounding feminism and the ways in which it's been hijacked to advance ridiculous and unreasonable claims and expectations about who men should be or who women should be. Any ideology, any ism has a tendency to be warped and distorted once it's institutionalized. People's definitions of liberal. I would consider my political beliefs and affiliations to be open-minded and free, but I wouldn't necessarily equate freedom and open-mindedness with liberalism, at least the way centrist Democrats here in the United States, the never Trumpers do. So I myself don't identify as a liberal because the ways in which it's been hijacked from the center left in this country to promote and advance neoliberalism, militarism under the guise of freedom and openness and diversity, like I think that's a complete sham. So I don't know what reason his girlfriend's gonna get, but I've been with girls who, well, there was only one who was like, yeah, I'm not a feminist.
I'm like, we are equal, but I ain't putting out the goddamn garbage. That's your job.
That's fine.
That's your role. And I went, that's my job.
I ain't mad at that.
We equal. We good. But I ain't putting out the goddamn garbages. That's your role.
I like that.
People allow for people to play to their strengths, especially in relationships.
And just like there's some shit that Preach might not want to do in a relationship, he might not want to clean the bathtub or the toilet or the bathroom as a whole. He might be like, all right, babe, you like cleaning, you want to clean, and so it's a back and forth thing, and there's nothing wrong.
And I think
with
that's
that.
something that's really nice. And the beauty of it is you're not necessarily bound to the expectations that people have of this is man and this is woman. Society is not saying you must have traditional gender roles. But if you want to do that, people don't seem to demonize you, where I feel like sometimes in the West now, I mean, I was like that. Like, I remember when I was in high school about to go to college, I had a friend and all she wanted to do was just get married and have kids. And she wanted to have a lot of kids. So she did that right out of high school. I remember kind of judging her like, ew, why would you do that? You have no ambitions. So then I kind of like really stopped talking to her because I thought, oh my God, what is that? Like, why would you just want to do that? And like live with a man who makes the money and do that? Like, be independent and have some ambition and stuff. Like, that was kind of how I used to think about women who wanted to do that.
And the thing about that is, again, people just got to be careful, because in an effort to be like open and free and independent, oftentimes we end up boxing ourselves right back in, because that is a pretty rigid way to view the world. Like, either like you're independent, even the claim that like independence is tied to like being single, not having kids, and financially successful, like that's not always independence. that's just what it is, you know, not having kids, being single, and being financially successful. But that doesn't necessarily mean you're independent. And it is possible to be both financially successful and to have kids. It is possible to, you know what I'm saying? So I'm feeling what she's saying.
But one thing that Korea has taught me is that, you know, everyone like chooses what they want to do. If a woman wants to take on a traditional role and that's what she wants to do, then we shouldn't tell her she's wrong for wanting
fluidity
to do that. You know, I think we should be able to choose what we want to do, and people shouldn't look down on people who want to do those traditional roles in that way. 'Cause I used to be one of those people who looked down on women like that as I was going to college, getting my degree that I'm not using at all. In debt, not anymore, but was in debt. She ain't got no debt, and she got like 4 kids, and she's happy. I see her on Instagram. So, and growing up too, like my parents were always like, "Yeah, be independent."
And you can do both. You could go to college, get a degree, go in a little bit of debt, and have kids. I wouldn't recommend the debt thing. Try to minimize that as much as possible.
Do this, like, don't depend on no man, don't need no man. And now that I'm married, I'm like, I needed him. Where have you been, Mr. Moon? Okay. Where have you been? Like, why didn't I meet you? Now, if I had met him when I was 22, he might not have liked me, because Mr. Moon, my husband, he likes to feel like needed. And at that time, I was kind of like anti anything. Like, I don't need no help, no man. Mr. Moon, he loves like carrying things and like doing things and just being helpful. And I think in the past, like old Megan would have thought like, oh, it's because he thinks I can't do it. I can do pull-ups, weighted pull-ups, 20 pounds.
And those are the types of women that I kind of messed with back in the day. And on the surface, it seems like, oh yeah, I want to be with like a free and independent woman who doesn't need me for anything and knows that she's strong. But on the other side of the spectrum, it's like we all like to feel needed. So when you're in that relationship, when you're in that situation, it doesn't feel as good as you thought it would, because now you got somebody who's like stubborn, hard-headed, want to do everything by themselves when you do anything for them. Or when you introduce a concept of having traditional gender roles in the relationship in any capacity, all of a sudden they got a problem with it. So like I said before, sometimes you got to meet people where they are, and also remember that not everybody is going to be a finished product, you know, once you get into a relationship.
To me, I can do a pull-up. I don't need you to carry my bags.
Why did Megan turn into Cardi?
Because that's probably how she was in college.
I don't need that. The thing that happened is like I'm gonna tell you, okay,
But yeah, now I'm like, yeah, I could do it. But one thing that I've noticed about men, one of those inherent traits that men have, is they like to feel needed and to feel
I
as
think
though
that's with women too.
They're helpful and they're contributing. Is one of the things that drives them to want to do more and do better.
I think that's with a lot of women too. I don't think that's a male-female thing.
I noticed with Mr. Moon, I can get him to do more things, more chores, by saying, oh yeah, you know, I really need your help. The last time you did it so well. It was just so amazing.
Is that we don't want a boy. We got boys already. I could chug this beer, bro. I could do, okay, I got boys to do that too. Sometimes I want a girl.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's my shit, girls. Yeah, you could do it. It's not because you could do it that it's good. I could drive my car with my feet. That don't make it a good fucking idea. Who said that?
Chris Rock.
Chris Rock. Chris Rock said that. Yeah.
Yeah. Great video. First off, shout out to her. Yeah, listen, anything that encourages people to take up the responsibilities and their duties and understanding that life is about work, it's about labor, then I'm always for. And, you know, to extend this past dating and marriage, I had someone who was in university asking me about potentially dropping out and what he thought. And I told them this. Whatever you choose in life, understand it's going to come with its responsibilities, and there's a lot of labor that you're going to have to put in. This whole self-employed life, this whole dropping out to be an entrepreneur, it's not just you don't go to school, you don't pay no bills, you just get a job. It's like, no, there's labor that you have to do, there's hustling that you have to do, there's effort.
Sometimes it's even harder than when you're working in a company. Most of the time, if you want to be self-employed, like me, it's going to be harder. Now it's going to give you a greater sense of fulfillment and satisfaction, or it could lead to that if inherently you don't see yourself as someone who can work under like a company, and you want to be creative and you want to be able to work on your own time, you know?
That you have to invest in this thing. So coming in with that mindset is going to help you understand that it's not glamorous and self-employed hours and you get to work when you want to work and everything is, no, it's honestly super draining and taxing, but there's a reward to it. But you need to understand it's labor.
It comes with a cost.
That's what it is. Friendships, relationships, marriages, work relationships, even this, it's labor.
Motherfuckers,
You see us laughing.
Emotional labor.
Behind the scenes, it's a lot of labor. So anything that encourages people to understand those responsibilities, to embrace it, and to see the positive in that, I'm all for. So shout out to Mrs. Moon, and that was my thought on that. What did you want to say?
People talking about, do a job that you like and you'll never work. And then
That's a damn lie. People like that never. No.
Do a job that you like and you'll never work a day in your life. That is the worst bullshit I've heard. The real saying is not that. The real saying is get a job you love and you don't know when you'll stop. You'll always be working. That's really what it is.
And you'll never want to stop, though. That's a beautiful thing.
There's no schedules to this bitch.
Yeah, the dream job is not the fact that there's like an absence of labor. There's not an absence of work. There's no dream job. There's no job where you don't have to do shit you don't want to do. You want to be a YouTuber? Bitch, you better learn how to edit. Bitch, you better learn how to do a lot of these other things, because what it takes to get into this is a lot of labor that you probably don't want to do. I met a single motherfucker who does his job who loves every aspect of it. It's not possible.
No.
You want to run a successful automobile company? Bitch, you better learn about business. You might love cars, but business is a whole other ballgame, and most people don't like that. Even NFL players, they might love football. The business, they don't always love. The fans, the media, they don't always love. Everything comes with its share of labor that you cannot get out of.
Ask Marshawn Lynch what he don't like about it. I'm just here so I don't get fined.
But you know what? Sometimes you have to do that. So
I'm just here so I just don't get fined. Next question.
yeah, that is what marriage is sometimes.
I'm just here so I just don't get fined.
Yeah, that is what a marriage is.
What next one? I'm just here just so I just
You
don't
want
get
the
fined.
Skittles? Don't get fined.
That's really...
Yes, and I think young men, young women want to hear this kind of message. I think they understand this intrinsically. They just don't understand it's a good thing. So, yeah, I want to put this out and shout out to her. I really appreciate what she had to say. Anything else?
Nah, man.
All right, there y'all go. I love this video. Thank you so much for recommending it. I will keep pumping them out as the days go by. I will see y'all next time. Ooh, and also there's a playlist. If you want to see my other Abba Preach videos, check out the playlist. I'll see y'all next time. Peace.